Hello everyone and welcome to our final edition of 2022 in review. Today I'm going to talk about all of the new stuff that I watched and did and all the good jazz in November and December of 2022, as well as a little bit of a wrap up and talking about what I might want to do in the future because I have thoughts and I would like to hear from y'all. But before we get started with that, let's talk about the November-December stuff, starting with Drawtective Season 2. Now you might remember that last time we talked about Drawtective Season 1, and this season follows our gang, Grandma, York, and Rosé, as they take on a new mystery on the Celestial Sphere Experience. Now let's start with how this is different from last time. I would say that the mystery is a very different type of mystery than Drawtective Season 1. Drawtective Season 1 is a very traditional murder mystery with a fantasy aesthetic. However, the actual fantasy elements don't really play a big part in the story. Drawtective Season 2, however, very much utilizes the fantasy setting to create a different type of mystery than we're used to. Julia really seemed to ask, what can you do in a fantasy mystery that you can't do in a normal mystery? And so I think for a traditional mystery fan, that can either be really cool or really jarring. There's also less of an element of the drawing. They still do it, but every single room doesn't require them to do a drawing challenge. On the one hand, that's kind of nice because it breaks up the monotony, but on the other hand, they are the draw detectives. So depending on which part of that is the most important to you, you might not love that, but it does allow for more creativity and more role playing, which, I'm never gonna say no to. In addition, Julia definitely takes more control in this one. This one is a train-themed mystery, and you might want to say that she's railroading a bit. And usually that has a negative connotation. It's, oh, the game master isn't allowing you to do things. You have to follow the specific laid out story. Here, that mostly means that Julia just doesn't let them have free reign over the map. They have to go to certain places in a certain order, but what they do there is pretty much up to them. And really what that does is it allows for her to have actual pacing. Cause love Drawtective Season 1, the pacing is not why. The amount of time they spend trying to figure out what room they want to go into, and then the way that the clues get laid out is not ideal because they get to pick. Whereas in this, they go into the rooms in the order Julia wants them to go into, and she has control over the process, which allows her to do some really cool moments, like the ending of episode 2. I can't give anything away, but oh my god, the end of episode 2 might be the most harrowing thing I've ever seen in my life. And it's from something that also has a corn rhino in it. In addition, this season has guest characters who are in some of the rooms, which is great because there are a lot of really fun guests that they bring in. Caldwell, who is former Drawfee, still just an icon. Sungwon Pro CD makes an appearance. I won't give everything away, but it's just really fun having all of these people here, and it's nice to give Julia a break because Julia Lepetite is a genius, but she deserves a break. She is still mortal, I'm pretty sure. But those are the differences. The similarities are still, great characters, gorgeous art, really funny. It's a really fun time. It's just a delight. If you have a long weekend where you want to binge something but you don't know what, Drawtectives is a really great place to start. I am so excited for Season 3 whenever it may come. Next thing was Keep a Tender Distance, the newest Ellery Ward album, which, like everything Ellery Ward, is a Sondheim cover album, and it is beautiful. It is floating and dreamlike and just so atmospheric. I mean, the music is wonderful because it is Sondheim and it is the best of Sondheim. But then you give it this aesthetic makeover of this sort of folksy indie aesthetic that I personally really like. I listen to a lot of music like this, and I find that I pick up on things that I don't always when I listen to the Sondheim traditionally or when I'm watching some of these shows. It sort of reminds me of when I see a Shakespeare piece being performed, and I've seen it before, heard it, read it all the classical ways, and I see somebody just do it very modern, and I have a totally new perspective on it. You know, it's not that the old way is bad, the new way is better, but I can see something in this version that I didn't see in others, and that's really special. Unsurprisingly, the Into the Woods bitch loves all of the Into the Woods stuff. I also love Not While I'm Around and Joanna, which is not a surprise either. I am a bit of a Sweeney Todd bitch as well. In addition, Unworthy of Your Love is a personal highlight for me, but the entire album is gorgeous. If you love Sondheim, this is a really interesting spin on it. If you have trouble getting into Sondheim, because it is hard to get into unless you are watching a show, I think this is a really nice way to appreciate the music without having to necessarily sit at the show. Because let's be real, Sondheim music is beautiful, but out of context, it can be a lot. And then the last November thing was Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. I saw it the last day it was in theaters because I don't have Netflix. I saw it the last day it was in theaters, and then I immediately drove to work because I was covering for somebody that day, and I was on another plane of existence. You know I'm a murder mystery bitch, you know I'm a mystery bitch, so it should not be a surprise that I fucking loved Knives Out. And so I was really excited and hopeful that the sequel would be just as good, or at least not a disappointment. And it is incredible. I mean, I don't know how you could exist and not know that people love Glass Onion. Benoit Blanc has quickly become a character that I rotate around in my head. He is the current Tumblr darling, which is a wild thing to say. I love the new way that Rian Johnson manages to flip the mystery on its head, because I thought I knew how he was going to do it, and then he did it a different way, and so I was just so excited. I love the reveal. I love all of the different people who managed to get into this one as the cast, as well as the various cameos. Angela Lansbury's final role is in this. Stephen Sondheim's final role is in this. Those went around the internet a lot, so I don't consider those to be super spoilery. But there are other cameos as well that I did not hear about, and it was a delight. The set design and the costuming and the lighting of this film are all really, really incredible. There's an entire sequence in this movie where all of the lights are out, but you can still see what's going on, which, thank you. I hate when you can't see what the fuck is going on in movies and TV. It is one of my biggest pet peeves. That's non-controversial, but thank God. Set for this movie, the main one, is absolutely gorgeous. I love how everything is designed. I love the little details that clue you in to the big reveal. It's delightful. The costumes are so good at communicating who each person is intelligently and succinctly, and sometimes that means having absolutely stunning pieces, like a lot of what Kate Hudson wears and some of Daniel Craig's stuff. Oh my god, absolutely incredible. And Janelle Monáe's clothes, oh yeah, there's some gorgeous stuff in there. But there's also characters like Catherine Hahn's, who I love that they make her look kind of terrible the entire movie. Like, she's still Catherine Hahn, so she's gorgeous, but also at the same time, it looks like she's not wearing makeup. Obviously she is. It's a movie. Everyone's wearing makeup, but she doesn't look like she's wearing makeup. They put her in things that aren't flattering with both the color and the shape. It's just like so delightful to see the character choices behind all of the things that are going on in this movie. Oh my god, there's so much to geek out about with Glass Onion, and I'm doing it constantly on Tumblr, so I will try to spare you all of the everything, but needless to say, I love it. I could probably make an entire video about people who I want to see in future Knives Out movies. So good. The first thing I did in December was take a train to Philadelphia to see the Star Kid Jangle Ball tour. I could not miss this. I simply could not miss the Star Kid tour. This was actually my first true concert experience, which, I mean, on brand, let's not kid ourselves, but also what an incredible way to start. The Theater of the Living Arts was a great venue, not too big, not too small. We were really hyped. The Star Kid fandom is wonderful, so kind, so welcoming. We were having a great time. Everybody was excited to be there. You know, before the show, we were all just chatting and laughing and singing and dancing along to the mashup of 80s music and Christmas music that they had going for us. And the show itself was phenomenal. The first act was centered around villain songs, and then the second act was all the songs from their VHS Christmas Carol. I still actually haven't seen it. They only released it right before the tour, so I still need to do that. That'll probably be a next year Tessa thing, but I really enjoyed the music. Seeing some of these people live was insane. I made direct eye contact with Dylan Saunders, which is, oh my god. Jamie sang Join Us or Die. Brian Rosenthal was Gaston in Twisted. I could not believe the situation I was in. I know they're currently working on making a pro shot of the concert and they're going to release it at some point. Yes, if you're a Star Kid person, this is going to be worth whatever they sell it for. I would probably spend at least $30 to be able to relive this because it was such an incredible experience. I can't give everything away that happened, but I will say Stutter brought down the house. But then I had to go home. I had to take a train ride back from Philadelphia to Cleveland, or actually I took the train from Philadelphia to Pittsburgh because it was faster for my dad to drive from Cleveland to Pittsburgh, pick me up in Pittsburgh, and then drive back than it was to actually, take the train the rest of the way. God, I wish I lived in a country with functioning public transportation. Regardless, I was going to spend a lot of time on a train, and I needed something to do. So when I was out with my cousin and his wife, I picked up Galatea by Madeline Miller. I've never read Madeline Miller before. I know that she's supposed to be amazing. I know everyone cries over Song of Achilles. I figured this was like $10. This seemed like a good way to intro myself to Madeline Miller. If you're not familiar, Galatea is a twist on the Pygmalion myth, which is the story of a guy who likes women in theory but hates them in practice, and so he sculpts a beautiful marble woman and falls in love with it and prays that she can be real, and so Aphrodite makes the statue real, and that's his lover. Pygmalion is the source material for a lot of rom-coms I don't like, and also My Fair Lady, which I hate. So an adaptation that is from Galilea's perspective about how Pygmalion would suck as a husband, very much up my alley. I really love birds in cages motifs and dolls in dollhouses motifs, and statue coming to life is definitely adjacent to that, and so I was really excited to try this out. This was not a long read. It was very, very short. However, Madeline Miller really makes the most out of every word to give us just a terrifying depiction of a life. Like, I know Pygmalion types suck, but damn, she really does not shy away from how much being the wife of Pygmalion would suck. It's definitely not a light read. It deals with abuse and gaslighting and miscarriages and a bunch of other things. It is not a fun time. However, it is very interesting to read. I didn't enjoy reading it because it was not a fun thing to read. However, I was fascinated the entire time. If you're familiar with myths and you like seeing different takes on them, definitely check this out. And if you were with me in the camp of fuck Henry Higgins, all my homies hate Henry Higgins, this will be a very satisfying read for you. In a completely different sphere, the next thing I watched was the Decorating Disney Holiday Magic. I had to check the name because that is not an easy title to remember. Essentially, it is about how the Imagineers and the cast members of Disney World and Disneyland decorate the parks for the holidays. I'm a big Disney nerd. I think that's obvious by everything about me. I love the parks, even though I don't get to go very often, and it's been almost 6 years. But I love learning about how they do things at the parks and all of the wonderful magic that they're able to create. And yes, it's a big old ad for Disney, I know. But at the same time, it is really cool to see how they do this stuff and how they do this stuff overnight. Because, like, one day it's Halloween, the next it's Christmas, and that's really cool. And they really talk to a lot of cast members. There's people who work on installing the Nightmare Before Christmas overlay of the Haunted Mansion that they talk to. They talk to the people who design all of the topiary and floral stuff. They talk to the daughter of Leota. They talk to the people who make the life-size gingerbread houses. It's really cool if you like park stuff, and I love park stuff, so I had a really good time. You know, with my mom and my brother in one house and me and my dad in the other, it was kind of weird this holiday season, and it was a really nice way for me to get into the Christmas spirit without having to watch something I would feel guilty watching without them. But when I did go over there, one of the nights my mom, my brother, and me decided to watch something we had not watched before, the new film Spirited. This is the Will Ferrell, Ryan Reynolds Christmas Carol adjacent thing. It's like the weirdest sequel to Christmas Carol you could ever imagine. It's an interesting property, to be sure. I don't think I'm gonna ever watch it again. At least not for a while. It's definitely not going to be in the holiday rotation. However, I do kind of respect it, if that makes sense. Like, there are so many Christmas Carol adaptations, and we all love Christmas Carol, but to take it and do something completely different with it, something that honestly even a fanfic writer is like, dang, that's weird, I do sort of respect them for it. Now, I don't know if it necessarily works. I think in the end, the final product is a bit too cynical to properly be a Christmas Carol or really a Christmas anything. However, I really find some of the moving pieces in the actual product to be very interesting. Like, for instance, Octavia Spencer plays this character who is the Bob Cratchit analog of our story, but she's got all of this complexity and depth, and she has a lot of interesting stuff going on. When the movie is doing stuff like that, it's really interesting. Everything involving her character I love, and there's ways they play with how we're used to seeing the Christmas Carol story play out that are interesting. I just don't know if it works. It does end up sort of dark and with a lot of death. And you might say, Tessa, it's Christmas Carol, there's always death. And that's true, but it's not usually middle schooler suicide. This movie is weird. However, I still think it has lots of merit behind it. I think the cast is doing a good job. The writers are funny writers. They were able to get my whole family to laugh at different parts, but they were able to get my whole family to laugh. There's lots of talent in the cast. There's really good choreography and really good filming of the choreography, which is, I'd argue, much harder to do. But they really understand how to make some of these musical aspects work. Yeah, it's a weird movie. I don't know if I like it, but I appreciate them trying something different. The next thing is the thing my mom, my brother, and I do every year, Holiday Baking Championship. I'm talking about the new season of Holiday Baking Championship. This one was fine, I guess. I don't know. I feel like, I don't know how to put this nicely. I feel like everybody was kind of bad. Like, I feel like there were a lot of really weirdly incompetent people on this season. And I know that every season there's some people who do really well and some people who don't, but this season a lot of people seemed to struggle, and the challenges didn't seem significantly different than other years, so I don't know what was up with that. But it's still Holiday Baking Championship. It's still fun and nice, and anytime that Jessie is hosting, I can't complain. And last but not least, the final thing of 2022 in review is Beauty and the Beast, The Enchanted Christmas. My mom put it on. We hadn't seen it in years. Obviously, I've seen it. Of course, I've seen Beauty and the Beast and the Enchanted Christmas, but it had been like 15 years since I had seen it. I didn't remember a ton, and I'm gonna have a controversial opinion, I think, which is that it's fine. Like, yes, the Beast is a man-child. Belle's doing the whole, I can fix him. The animation isn't nearly as good. The music isn't as good. But at the same time, it's fine. Like, quite frankly, I would much rather take this, which is at least charming and has a heart, over something like the 2017 remake, which is totally soulless. And yeah, I know that is a low bar, but at the same time, it's nice seeing these characters together and hearing these voices saying different lines, and it's nice seeing the new cast members. You've got Tim Curry, Paul Rubens, and Bernadette Peters. It's just, I find it hard to get mad at, and that might be nostalgia, but as the resident Beauty and the Beast bitch, I think I get to, give that a pass. And that is the final thing of 2022 in review. So let's tally up the scores. We have 1 short, 3 written works, 3 albums, 8 theatrical or live events, 13 films, and 13 series or new seasons of series, bringing us up to a grand total of 41 new things, which is pretty dang good for me. The goal of 2022 in review was to get me to actually check out new shit, and that definitely worked. This is a much higher number than it would have been otherwise, I can tell you that much. And so I definitely think that the project itself was a success. However, I do have a question for you, the people, because I want to still be looking at new stuff and trying new media and really going for it in 2023. But I don't think that this format was the most conducive to community. Like, obviously, I'm not super preoccupied about views. I have 45 subscribers. I don't care that much. If I was trying to make super hyper appealing content, I would be doing things very differently than the way I am. However, I would like more of a back and forth between us. And so I want to know, is there a way I could do this better? I think there's two main options. Either some real casual, short, off the cuff reviews right after I do something or see something, or taking the same amount of time as I do to watch and listen to and read all of these things and focus it on one bigger review. And so I don't know which would be better. Hear from you guys. What would make this a easier thing for you to engage with? Is it just that I talk about too many things at once, or do you want me to go more in depth or less in depth? I just don't know what the best course of action is, and so I need you to talk to me. Because honestly, I haven't done anything new yet with January, and so either way I can make it work. I just need to know what you guys want for 2023 and maybe beyond. And so I don't know when next time will be, but I will see you then.